Hey guys, I'm bringing you the all-new 2022 Subaru WRX. How does it stack up against the likes of the Honda Civic Si? How does it stack up against the Kona and Elantra N? How does it stack up against the new GTI as well? Today I'm going to tell you, and man, it's a pretty damn good car. Starting with the walk around of this 5th generation WRX, and it is polarizing, especially if you get it in anything other than black. This black color really hides some of the more striking design features of this vehicle. We have this matte material that covers the outside of this vehicle. We have it at the bottom of the bumper. We have some really attractive headlights, and I love the wide hood scoop. So Subaru's absolutely nailed that. But this pattern is kind of like a golf ball-like pattern, or honeycomb as well. It is supposed to make the vehicle more slippery, reduce wind resistance. Now we have it around the wheel arches. Now it looks pretty good against this glossy, or should I say sparkly black, but the problem is when you put it against some other colors, it just doesn't seem right. I wish this was paint matched, to be honest, but black and black, it doesn't look bad. We also have these gorgeous 18-inch wheels, and then we have these gills here that makes this vehicle just a little bit more aerodynamic, a little bit more stable at speed. Now as we look at the vehicle from the side, it definitely looks sporty, maybe like a dropped Crosstrek in some ways, as some of you guys like to admit, but it does look pretty handsome overall. There's no doubt when you look at this vehicle, you know it means performance. And I love the rear haunches. It makes this vehicle look like it has a wide body almost from the factory. The rear taillights have grown on me. They look like an old Civic's taillights, but when you get close to them, they have like this crystal metallic crunchiness inside. It almost reminds me of like Pop Rocks or Disco Ball. It's hard to explain, but it looks really, really cool. We also have Subaru inside that lens. Subaru, of course, standard all-wheel drive, the symmetrical all-wheel drive system WRX. It looks pretty clean on the back in this black color, but the problem is the whole bottom portion of the bumper is this matte golf ball finish or honeycomb finish, and it just doesn't look premium. It's unfortunate. I wish it would at least be broken up. Maybe some glossy black back here or just paint match back here would be ideal, to be honest. Very understated spoiler on the deck lid. Getting into the trunk, of course it's a sedan, you're going to have a limited functionality here. No spare tire. There's your fix-it-flat kit underneath. Now the good thing is that the WRX, you can still fold down the seats. That's a beautiful feature. Closing the door, it's actually a pretty solid door slam compared to what I feel like in previous WRXs. We kind of have this carbon fiber trim around the door handles. Hard touch on top here, nice leatherette material down here, automatic windows all the way around, soft touch on the back of the seats here. We also have quick chargers back here. It looks like there may be some options here for heated outboard seats, but these suede seats are really nice in this limited trim, and they do look the part with the red stitching. Cup holders in here, a map light in the back. And lastly, legroom at 6'1", sitting behind myself. I actually have more legroom in here than I did in the CX-5 that I drove this week. Sitting on the inside, or the front I should say, fairly decent door slam here. Again, that carbon fiber fake trim around the door handle, automatic windows all the way around, and luckily this up front is soft touch where it was hard touch in the back. Steering wheel, excellent quality, love the leather as well as the red stitching. WRX down here, no radar cruise control on this model. This is the manual transmission. You'd only get the EyeSight tech on the CVT, which also costs you a couple grand more, which is ridiculous. Anyways, love that the handbrake is right here, right next to my leg, and we have this 11-inch touchscreen in here. It's pretty functional when it is hooking up to Android Auto. When I plug my phone in, sometimes it kind of freezes until that syncs up, but once it's up and running, it's great. I love that the radio is here. I love climate control's always here. I love that Android Auto is always there, and then I have my choices here, which weather hasn't been loading for whatever reason, so I just leave up the oil temperature and the acceleration. You see me pressing the pedal, you can see it gives us a different reading. Vents work pretty good. I feel like the AC is actually pretty decent in here. Soft touch with red stitching on the dash, soft touch here, hard touch here, hard touch here. These seats in the front with a WRX on the headrest. Now this is of course exclusive to this grade and the GT grade with these leatherette seats. Below is going to be cloth, and that's probably the trim I would be getting in this vehicle. We'll talk more about that later on the drive. A couple of cup holders here. Open this up. We have an additional 12 volt here, and then 2 USB-A's, an auxiliary port, and another 12 volt here. Now this trim level comes standard not only with the Harman Kardon, but also with the roof, which are optional on the trim right below this, which I believe is called the Premium. Now underneath the hood, we have the new 2.4 liter turbo boxer engine. Produces 271 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And it is a peach. I love this engine. I'm getting more and more accustomed to the transmission. It's taken me a while to get pretty smooth at it. And it's been so long since I've driven a WRX or an STI. And one of the things that surprised me with this vehicle right away is the ride quality. Now I'm on a terrible road, so it's not doing this vehicle justice, but the ride quality overall on this vehicle is very impressive. It handles the bumps real well. I don't feel like it's a plastic cheap cabin where everything just feels like it's creaking and rattling along. Like, it feels like a pretty solid vehicle overall, and that's kind of what surprised me also with the Subaru Forester Wilderness that I drove a few months back, is that vehicle almost drove like a luxury car. It doesn't have the power of the luxury car or the powertrain sophistication, but the ride quality was exquisite. And we get a little bit of that ride quality exquisiteness here in the WRX, even though it's much more performance oriented. Downshifting to 5th, downshifting to 4th, perfect rev matches there, and just go. It doesn't pull that hard once you're probably up to about 60 miles an hour. I feel like it really mellows out, and you just don't have that same sort of fun and acceleration and grin-inducing smiles that you get from about 0 to 60 miles an hour is where this vehicle really likes to be. Subaru doesn't give it the EyeSight treatment, so we just have standard cruise control. We don't have any lane keep, we don't have any pre-collision, and that's where I feel like its competition really comes in and says, hey, we can offer safety features for less money. And that's true with the SI and the Elantra N, where those vehicles are probably both a little bit more fun to drive than this vehicle. Maybe not as quick accelerating like 0 to 60, but overall engagement level is higher with those vehicles, especially the auto rev matching, and just the fun factor are turned almost to the max, especially the Elantra N. Oh, but yeah, now we have some nice smooth roads here, and this is where I feel like you could actually take this across country and be comfortable in the new WRX. Now, fuel economy is not great. I'm getting like 17 miles per gallon. I've been driving a decent amount on the highway, so that's another thing where I feel like it's competition, especially the Civic Si. Not only is it, I don't know, 5 to 10 grand cheaper than this car, depending on how you want to option it, but that vehicle is just so fuel efficient. You can get 35 miles per gallon, no problem in that car. And with how this is priced, it's pretty much Integra price range. So Integra 6-speed manual, where that's around like 36, 37K, that's exactly where this vehicle is priced as well. And I will have to say that I don't recommend getting this vehicle in this limited trim. I'd say go premium, and if you need the sunroof and Harman Kardon, which Harman Kardon's actually pretty good in here, if you need those, you can get those optioned on the premium grade. But for 35K, I just don't know if I would pick this car over its competition. It's very smooth, it's very, I feel like, nailed down in every sense of the word, but when you're getting a vehicle like this, you want the fun factor to be as high as possible. And that's where like the Miata excels, the Elantra N and the SI, I just feel like all three of those vehicles, yes, they have different levels of performance, but they all have that fun factor that beats this vehicle. There's nothing wrong with the new WRX, maybe the styling if you guys want to go there, and maybe the lack of performance jump versus the last generation, but this car is so much better appointed, the materials are better, it's a better riding vehicle, like it's a way better vehicle overall than the last WRX, and that's a beautiful thing. But the competition is also really good now, and they have turned up the fun factor. I just feel like the fun factor isn't as high on this vehicle as its, you know, strictest competition. I've also driven the new GTI, and I didn't get a chance to drive that in the manual, so I'm comparing apples to oranges, but that was a very good car as well. And I prefer the styling of that vehicle over this. 0 to 60 in 7.08 seconds, and I'm done doing 0 to 60s. I've had to rev this thing to about 4,500 RPM for it to launch somewhat well. I'm just not comfortable doing that. So I know this vehicle is probably able to do a much quicker 0 to 60. I would guess around like 6 seconds, probably even faster than that, given the right circumstances. But 7 seconds is about as fast as I can do, or as fast as I'm comfortable with. I don't feel like comfortable dropping the clutch at like 5,000, 6,000 RPM. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to launch. But now we're gonna get into the brakes hard here. There's not a lot of progression in the pedal, so it just feels like you're pushing on a stone. But the harder you push on the stone, even though it's not moving, you do get like a linear feedback from it, even though the pedal's not moving a whole lot. Just love the acceleration of this vehicle in terms of the smoothness, shifting from gear to gear. It's a thing of beauty for sure. I'm gonna throw it into the turn. And this thing, of course, carves it very, very well. That's definitely what this vehicle is designed for. Is the steering as intoxicating as the steering feel on the Civic Si? Probably not, but it does feel very, very planted, especially when you want to accelerate out of the turns with this all-wheel drive system. But time to summarize the new WRX. Styling aside, it's a very good vehicle. The lack of safety features kind of gets me. Also, it's kind of pricey for the performance you get. I wish this vehicle brought a little bit more raw nature to it, but as a result, it's very livable. It's comfortable. The suspension's great. They've done a ton of revisions to the suspension. Of course, it's on an all-new platform, on the Subaru Global platform, and it feels very polished. Even though it's a brand new vehicle, it just feels like this vehicle's been around a long time, and the fit and finish is there, the quality materials are there, especially on this limited trim, and the smoothness of the gearbox is there as well. Unfortunately, without the STI, this also takes the role for overall, high performance leader from Subaru. And just for the money and for the competitors on the market, it's hard to recommend. I would not spend over 35 grand on this vehicle if I can help it. Don't get the CVT. I know it'd be faster, and but they're charging 2 grand for a CVT, and that's just not worth it to me. But let's say I have 32 grand for a new sports car or sports sedan. What am I picking? For 32 grand on the Elantra, and I'm picking over this vehicle unless I need to have all-wheel drive if I live in the Midwest or somewhere even worse. But even then, the Civic Si you can get for 4 grand cheaper. Not quite as quick as this vehicle, but you save a lot of money in terms of fuel economy and the amount of money you're going to be spending on fuel. So but I'll see you guys down below. What do you think about the new WRX? I've said enough about it. I'm going to cut myself off. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely subscribe for more Subaru news, all Japanese and Korean auto news and reviews. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and peace out.